Are we broadcast? We are on.
All righty. Then I hereby call the City of Buellton City Council meeting for April 8th, 2021 to order. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Linda, if I could get you to do roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Andrusik.
Present.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Lewis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
We have no reordering of the agenda this evening.
All righty, then we move on to public comments. This is for anybody who'd like to give us 3 minutes to speak about ideas they're interested in, problems they're having, compliments. We always love compliments, or any item on the agenda. I believe we have one public speaker, Linda.
Yes, one public speaker.
And that would be Annie Yakutis.
Mm-hmm.
Your time is on. Go for it.
Hello, Madam Mayor, honorable council members. Thank you so much for having me. I'm inspired by your commitment to beautiful open and green spaces in Buellton, and I'd especially like to congratulate you on the new entrance to the Botanic Garden. Super beautiful. I have some slides for you. May I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm starting with just a little abbreviated resume, which I will send to you tomorrow via email, along with the rest of my slides. I'm here today to talk about community gardening, which is a passionate interest of mine. And here's one example of the many ways that a community garden can look and be designed. Here's another one. Both of these are really pretty big, but this one is a more modest scaled garden in a town that is about the same population as the San Ynez Valley. I included it because I think we have a perfect spot. So here you see a little map of part of downtown Buellton. The Avenue of the Flags is right here. The yellow dot is Tonio's restaurant, and the red dot is Houston's Liquor, and the green dot is the city-owned lot at the corner of 2nd and Central, which you may all already be very familiar with, but I've included a few views here. And I guess it was about a year ago that I started thinking and talking to various people about the idea in general of community gardening. I've got a list here of some of the folks that have advised me and expressed interest and willingness to help, and also a list of planned conversations, people that I hope to get in touch with to learn more about how our interests may dovetail. But the next step is to gather input from the people of Buellton, beginning right here in the neighborhood near 2nd and Central. So I'm hoping that you'll have me back to share what I learned as part of that process. And I just wanted to say, hooray for community gardening. And there are a lot of resources about this. There's a lot of ways to approach it. There are tremendously diverse values in it. There are some links here, and when I follow up with you by email, you'll have access to all of these resources, including a little bit of information about the guiding principles that have also inspired me along with you. I want to thank Holly and Scott for encouraging me to be here. And if you have any questions, I want you to feel free to contact me. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have now if there's time, but I want to thank you for letting me speak.
Unmute myself. Annie, thank you very, very much for the presentation. And I look forward to hearing your next step.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. Are there any other public comments, Linda?
No, ma'am. There was just the one from Michael Baker, but nothing came through. I emailed him, asked him if he wanted to send something or join via Zoom, and I've not heard back.
Okay.
So-
Well, I guess we can try to cut in if we hear back from him. He made an
Right.
attempt. So
I'll keep a lookout. If I see anything, I'll let you know.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, this is Lauren from the food bank. Is this the appropriate time to share my information, or is there another part for this in the agenda?
You're coming up on business item number
6,
5.
5. Okay.
Okay,
So we'll call you then, Lauren. Thank you.
got it. I will be here.
Okay, then I am closing public comment. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have 3 items tonight. The minutes of March 25th, 2021 City Council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2020, 2021. And acceptance of City of Buellton Transportation Development Act, the TDA Fund, financial statements for years ended June 30th, 2020 and June 30th, 2019, with an independent auditor's report. Council,
Move for approval.
if there's any questions or move for approval, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Linda, you decide. Dave King, I believe, made the first motion, and
Correct.
it was a tie between John and Alicia for the second.
Okay. All right. Councilmember King,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sanchez,
He's muted.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik,
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis,
Aye.
and Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you very much. Okay, the next one is something I truly enjoy doing. We have a presentation, actually a proclamation tonight, recognizing National Donate Life Month. Is the gentleman who usually comes with this proclamation on Zoom tonight?
Let me see. Oh, here he is. He's coming into the room right now. Just a moment.
Okay,
Um,
and his name again?
Scott Burns.
I remember Scott Burns.
Okay, where? Oh, there he is. Can you hear us?
Yes. Yes.
You are on. The mayor is ready for your proclamation.
Welcome. I'm just getting ready to read it. We were looking for you.
I'm sorry about that.
No. I'm glad you're here. This is a proclamation recognizing National Donate Life Month. Whereas organ, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need, and more than 112,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and on average, 17 people die each day while waiting due to the shortage of donated organs. And whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic and African American communities, and more than 600,000 units of blood per year are required to meet the need in California. And each year there are 18,000 patients in need of volunteer marrow donors. And whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives, donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of more than 75 others, and a single blood donation can help 3 people in need. And whereas millions of lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissues, marrow, and blood, and the spirit of giving and decision to donate are not restricted by age or medical condition, and California residents interested in saving a life through living kidney donation are encouraged to visit www.livingdonationscalifornia.org for more information. And whereas over 16 million Californians have signed up with the state-authorized Donate Life California Donor Registry to ensure their wishes to be organ, eye, and tissue donors are honored, and California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Donor Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's licenses or ID cards at the California Department Motor Vehicles. Now, therefore, I, Holly Sierra, Mayor of the City of Buellton, hereby recognize National Donate Life Month. The month of April 2021 is hereby proclaimed DMV Donate Life Month in the City of Buellton. And in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card, or by signing up at www.donatelifecalifornia.org or www.donevidacalifornia.org. Presented this 8th day of April 2021, and I am honored every year to give this proclamation. I was hoping maybe Scott could just say a couple words because you are inspirational.
Mayor, thank you. I appreciate it. One of these days I'll come back and you guys will remember me, possibly. I've lost a lot of weight. That's because I walk a lot. Anyway, Memorial Day 2015, I was sitting on my friend's sailboat, and you got a bad view here. That's at Fry's Anchorage. The Harbor Patrol showed up and said, "Mr. Burns, we have a kidney for you." I didn't tell you that I had kidney failure since 2012. I've been waiting on the waiting list for 3 years. I wasn't expecting this to happen. Most people either get a kidney within a year from their relatives or friends, but I had no match. And in Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, it's about an 8-year wait. About the people in the population of people that need a kidney nationwide is about the population of Santa Barbara. So it's Santa Barbara city, not county. And so it's an issue that we all worry about. Well, and about 17 people die every day on the waiting list because there's not enough kidneys for them. And about every 10 minutes, somebody gets on the waiting list. So it's a thing we're trying to get people to put the pink dot on their driver's license. But enough about me and that trip and numbers. If I can hit the right button. This is so good. I end up going back to Santa Barbara, get home and take a nice long shower, because I knew I was going into Cedars-Sinai for the kidney transplant. The next morning, 11:30 in the morning, fully functioning transplanted kidney. But that's only part of the story. The other part is Vivian Boutel, a nurse at Cottage Hospital, died suddenly. She collapsed in her gym, and they thought it was a stroke, and it turned out to be a brain aneurysm. About 0.5% of the people that die in a way that their organs can be donated. Her family said, sure, she had her pink dot, let's do it. Her sister-in-law knew my wife, and I got the phone call. My wife called the Harbor Patrol. I never got to know Vivian. I got to know her mom, her sisters, her nieces, and I do a lot of volunteer work with them. The main reason I'm here is that 90% of the adults in America say, sure, we want to donate organs. We'll do that. It's a good thing to do. But only 43% of the people in California actually have gotten the pink dot, and almost 90%, 95% of the people that get a pink dot, while you can do it on the line, they do it at the DMV. So anyway, thank you very much for letting me do this. I will mute unless, one thing, if you guys, if you have questions, Linda knows how to get a hold of me. If you find somebody who has an issue, I spend about 20 minutes a day with a friend of a friend who suddenly needs a kidney transplant. And when it happens, nobody knows what to do. No matter how often you go, oh yeah, go look at it online. I'm here to help. Just till you need that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see you, and I'm glad that you are healthy and well. And we are very proud to have this proclamation every April. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Scott.
Pardon?
I was saying, thank you for coming, Scott. Very inspirational.
Very inspirational.
And
Yes,
maybe
sir.
I'll do it online in person sometime.
That'd be nice to see you again. City Manager?
Madam Mayor, we have another public comment. Mr. Baker has arrived.
I see Mr. Baker there. How nice to see you. Come on board.
Thank you for juggling this agenda around. I just wanted to give you a quick update in the club, and we've been operating, and we've been doing COVID operations, for lack of a better term, since March of last year. As you might recall, we actually turned our club into a food distribution center, and handed out, several thousand boxes of food to families in need in Buellton, and specifically along the Avenue of the Flags, families living in motels. So wanted to let you know that I'm really proud of the work that our club directors have done in all of our clubs, but I will take the opportunity when we're able to meet in person, hopefully here soon, where I'll bring the club director that we have now for our Buellton /Solvang clubs, which is Cameron Martinez. We're very lucky to have him. He's doing a great job. He's got a lot of good Boys and Girls Club experience. Look forward to introducing everybody to him, and looking forward to the day also when we can give you all a tour of the facility at Oak Valley Elementary School. I want to give a really special shout out to Dr. Haggard and certainly to Lisa Melby for their continued support. We are in their home, and we're helping to serve kids. It's a great partnership, and we're very happy to be home at the Oak Valley Elementary School. And again, just thank you again for all the continued support for Boys and Girls Clubs. And we're going to do everything we can to reach the kids that need us the most.
Truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we did public comment. We've done presentations. Do we have any public hearings tonight?
We have no public hearings this evening.
Okay, then we move on to our council member comments / items. We'll start with Vice Mayor Sanchez. Do you have any comments or items you'd like brought back?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Councilmember King?
Took me out of order. Not at this time, Your Honor.
Taking things up tonight. Councilmember Lewis?
Nope, not this evening.
All righty, and Councilmember Andrusik, any questions,
Yes, ma'am.
comments or
Yes,
items?
ma'am.
Yes. Okay.
We are truly fortunate to have the wonderful people in the San Ynez Valley that share their abilities with all of us for free. And I'm speaking about the San Ynez Valley magazine. Connie Constance has done this religiously. I'm thinking 25 years. We all get it. It's laying in businesses everywhere. The San Ynez Valley, her most recent edition highlights the Skit family member. She recognizes people that are giving back to the community. And we have the two that I thought about right off the way with Patrick and Dawn Farrer from Fabric Connection?
Creation Station.
Creation Station.
Creation Station.
They are tireless and they're supporting the community, and they should be commended and visited. Just to say hello and thank them for giving their all to the betterment of Buellton. And I've been meaning to do it, and usually I have it laying some other place in the house, or it just gets past me, but it's a special privilege to thank them for their giving to the San Ynez Valley. And I want to, if you get a chance to see them, stop in and probably get a cup of coffee or holding your pants sewed up or something, and then you can continue your journey. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. It's a beautiful, it's an incredible shop. I mean, just more creativity than I in one pinky than I have in my body.
All of us.
I just amazing. I wanted to thank our Park and Rec for the egg hunt last Saturday. The feedback I got was incredibly positive. Everybody had a wonderful time. They abided by I think it was 8 eggs. They weren't supposed to take more than 8 eggs, and everybody seemed to follow it, and it went over very well. I want to thank council for being at the San Ynez Botanic Garden for the ribbon cutting. The entrance to the gardens is, Michelle Gruffo is just an incredible artist. And also we've got two going on in town right now. Jill Castle, who's done the bronze work, The Hero's Journey, Intimate Stranger, that's at on Avenue of Flags by our military flags. Very thought-provoking. Just his tribute to the military. And then on the 24th, we are, again, our Arts and Culture Committee has Ethan Turpin starting his Walk into Wildfires that will be at Hanada School from 1 to 4 on Saturday, and then there'll be different schedules after that. So if anybody has an opportunity, it's supposed to be an incredible, just an incredible event, an experience. So thank you very much. Written communication.
Saturday? Is it a
Saturday,
certain time?
the 24th. Saturday, the 24th. It goes from 1 to 4.
Thank you.
Yeah, should be. I'm very curious. So, do we have any written communications tonight?
We have no written communications this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any committee reports tonight?
We met.
No.
CCWA met today, but we didn't. There was nothing as spectacular as the water shortage there. We were preaching last month. We're holding our breath. Nothing more to report.
Thank you very much. Then we move on to business items. Agenda item number 5 is the fiscal year 2021, 2022, and 22-23 request for funding from outside agencies. We'll turn it over to our finance director, Chanel Zamora, and then bring it back to council for further action. Chanel.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, on February 18, 2021, outside agencies were reached out to and instructed to submit their funding requests for fiscal year 21-22 and fiscal year 22-23 with the possibility of a 2% increase the following year. The city has received funding requests from 6 outside agencies. These funding requests exclude those agencies already included in the budget as budget line items, such as the Paws Park, San Ynez Valley Botanic Garden, and the Buellton Senior Center. These 3 are considered separately at the regular budget hearing meetings that we'll be having next month. Nonprofit funding is allocated through the non-departmental budget. This current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 2020-21, the City Council has allocated $30,600 for the nonprofit funding. The total amount requested for fiscal year 2021-22 is $38,284. The city is receiving funding from the American Rescue Plan Act that could be used to support nonprofit organizations. Therefore, for fiscal year 21-22 and fiscal year 22-23, City Council should consider raising the amount available for funding to $38,284. This would allow all agencies to be fully funded for the next 2 fiscal years. This amount will be reevaluated next budget cycle to be more in par to previous year's allocation. staff recommends that City Council determine the allocations for fiscal year 21-22 and also request they consider a 2% increase for the following year of 22-23. Before City Council or before agencies give their presentation tonight, staff recommends that City Council determine the allocation funding amount for the next 2 fiscal years. And I'm available to answer any questions City Council may have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so at one point we had talked about it's 30,600. I thought at one point staff was talking about a 3% increase. We're not.
It's whatever council decides. If you decide on a 30% increase, that's $31,518. Just kind of wanted to put it out there since we are receiving that federal funding, and it's kind of, they recommend that we use it to help our community. And so my thought was, right now the nonprofits, they've been helping the past year with food distribution for our community. So what better way to use that funding to support them during this time? But like I said, it's totally up to City Council's discretion, and we'll allocate whatever you decide.
Okay. First of all, does council have any questions for Chanel?
No, ma'am.
Vice Mayor, you have a question?
It just so we can fund everyone completely without the reductions of the previous year. Is that what is that the way I understand it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way we're recommending.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No. Alicia, I don't know if you've watched our previous council meetings before. What council does is we come up with a number, and then we listen to the presentations, and then our city manager has a board, and each council member breaks down the amount that we've decided on into what we're going to give to the nonprofits. So we do have the money to do what everybody's asked for this year. I've noticed that most of the nonprofits have asked for very little of an increase, which is appreciative because the city has lost 1.3 million in COVID-related expenses. We put our capital improvement projects on hold because of loss of funding. We still do have reserves, and we will be receiving some federal money. But I leave it to council for discussion. What do you want to go with the full 38,284? Do you want to? I was thinking 36,000 myself. But
Holly, can I clarify something with you? So we determine a number as a council, and then each council member has to say where they want the dollars to go to total that number we came up with?
Yes, we call it the game board.
I see. Okay.
We call it the game board. And then what happens is it's all averaged out. So if you said 5,000 for one nonprofit and somebody else said 10,000 for that nonprofit, then it would average out to 7,500.
I see. Okay.
So that's how we have done it in the past. Okay. Again, if the council wishes to go with the full 38,284, then it's just kind of a done deal. There's no need for the board.
I would be in favor of, like you said, doing the full 38,000 and change for everyone for what they ask, given the pandemic and the services that these nonprofits are providing to our community, like Chanel stated.
Okay. Any other comments from council?
Is that a motion?
Oh, well,
It
Madam,
could be a motion too.
well, wait. Madam Mayor, I like the fact that everybody really has kind of tightened their belts up. Based on what the food bank here, last year we gave them about 5.5, and they've gone up to $10,000. I mean, I can see us giving up a little bit of a bump on that. Maybe 75 on that, kind of split the difference kind of a deal. I know everybody has had issues with this whole pandemic, but as you pointed out a moment ago, City of Buellton has had a big hit to our budget as well. So I think being good stewards, we could at least split the difference with them. They're asking for almost $5,000 more dollars.
Dave, if I can play devil's advocate with you, working in community schools and being in charge for our district and as a board member at a previous district, being in charge of the nutrition program and the feeding of the community programs, the need in our community is so much higher than you would think. The lines are, you know, around the blocks, families are suffering, and the ability of what we're able to give them isn't even meeting all of the needs for these kids and these families, you know, on average. So while it may seem like a lot, given that food security is a major issue in our valley, I would say that given what they're doing right now, it'd be something I would support the increase and maybe review it in the future if we're still at such a high need or if things have sort of leveled out. But given the current food insecurity, I think it's necessary. And I also think that given the pandemic funding that we're receiving, it's specifically designed and geared for these types of programs and community outreach. And I think that there really isn't a more important outreach than making sure our families are fed.
Council members, if I can just ask, I know that this isn't a public hearing item, but I think if I understood the mayor right, kind of what you wanted to do was decide first if you were going to fully fund or not, you know, in terms of the total amount, and then do allocations within that total amount. I know we have members of the public here to speak on their various community organizations. So I think just from the perspective of kind of the decision-making process, if you decide to fully fund, then kind of everything's moot. But if you are not going to do the full amount, then you would want to let them speak before we got into too much more substantive discussion. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I guess the question is, I'm thinking 36,000. Alicia is thinking the full amount. I'm just curious what the rest of council, if there's a motion or if there's more discussion on the amount before we go on.
I'll second your motion.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say I favor Dave's suggestion for concern. I think it's a tremendous move, and I believe we truly are fortunate to be in a position to offer them more money than we ever have before. And I really I like Dave's idea. I think that we need to be, I think, a little more responsible. How about we set up get a committee that says, look, we're going to have fundraisers at a certain time each year, and the money can go in. You know, the Viking organization, they set up a drive to let the community know we need $90,000. We've been to those events, those auctions where they've raised $100,000 at night. And so it can be done. I think that it's, I would favor us going with, if you will, a ratchet up program. I think the 38, I don't have a problem with it being 38, but I just think that we should be more judicious with the money. If something happened, $1 million, you told us we've lost $1 million, 1.6 million.
1.3 was my understanding.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1.3. I stand corrected. Over $1 million. That's not small change. So.
Okay, so.
I have a comment too. The reason I was asking about, we do have the money for the full 38, and rather than playing the game and chasing around for saving $2,000 between the two from 36 to 38, I think it'd be worth funding it completely, and I would second Alicia's motion.
I don't think she made a motion.
Okay,
Can I make it a motion?
well, I'll just make it a motion then. And then they'll
And then I'll second it.
go or fail, then and then we can go on to the next thing.
Okay.
So
I
I'll
guess-
make the motion, please.
Okay. My only concern was that everybody has been fairly conservative, and while I know the food bank and food insecurity is huge in the valley, and I know our senior center has been working with the food bank, with Veggie Rescue, it just seemed like the other nonprofits came in very conservatively, and had they known that they could ask for double what they were getting, that it might be a different request tonight. So that was my concern. Anyway, you made a motion?
And
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I can make a comment on that before we all decide to make that vote. You know, I can appreciate, Alicia, what you're saying about, you know, the food bank and what they do, and you know, they do a lot of good in this community. But by doubling that, in my opinion, we're really not being good stewards with our funds. It's the city of Buellton. Holly and I have been a long time. Ed has been a long time, and we are very frugal with our money. And when we start just saying, well, start getting sympathetic towards passing out taxpayer money, then we get ourselves into a situation where we may not have the financial stability that we have. And so this is why, and Holly just kind of alluded to that all these other groups just said, yeah, we need a few $100 more or $1,000 more, whatever. That was my concern, that food bank doubled what they asked for last year. And, you know, and we're all having to, you know, fight back with this, the COVID thing, and we're all trying to pinch pennies. So, you know, I'm thinking we can give them some more, but, you know, just blanketly saying, okay, we're going to double what we gave them last year, in my opinion, doesn't seem prudent.
I just want to make a point. The food banks have probably doubled their contribution, or, you know, the food that they've given away is gone up probably double. That's the only reason I was thinking that it's not that much for us. I appreciate the concern, but they're actually putting out more money too.
I would not argue with that.
That would be
The
my
other
point.
concern, John, is that this is for 2 years. We're doing we do a biannual budget. So the money we give them this year is the same money with perhaps a 2% increase that we give them next year as well.
Right, correct.
So, so I guess I'm going to make a second motion for the 36,000. It's petty, I get that, but I'm still worried about our city's finances as well.
Right.
I thought you were 38. Are you 36?
Mine was 36. Alicia's motion was for the 38,284.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Can you restate the what the motion, what the amount is? What do you?
The second motion was for 36,000. Right now, we've been allocating 30,600. I would like to raise that to 36,000. And John's motion was for the requested amount of 38,284, which is $2,284 more than my motion.
Okay, as a matter of rules of procedure, what has happened is there's and a substitute motion. Under the rules of procedure, the substitute motion gets voted on first and then the original motion. If the substitute motion passes, given the nature of the motions, then the original motion will not actually need to be voted on. That's what has happened, and we've had this happen before. I've given the same explanation, so I give it tonight just for clarification's sake, but Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll on the second motion, which would be for an even $36,000. Thank you, ma'am.
Can I make a stipulation on that? On that motion? It comes out to $456 per group, right? There's 5 groups. So they
If
would.
that's how it works on the board. No, then we go to the board. Then we go to the board.
Okay, I was trying to avoid the board, so
I know.
go ahead. Thank you.
Ready?
Linda?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor Sierra,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik,
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis,
Nay.
and Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Nay.
Okay. So it passes 3-2.
So the allocation then is
36,000.
36,000.
So we're going to go with the 36,000, and then we're going to start with our speakers for the nonprofits, and they get their 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor,
And
could I get one clarification before we leave that topic?
certainly,
Anyone can donate to that fund to make it whatever they want, if they want more. So
Of
we're at
course.
we're at 36, and it might be a good spot for people to tune up, and if they feel so inclined, put $150 or $200 in, and you'll have your 38 real quick.
there you go.
Thank you.
All righty, so we're going to go to our speakers. Our first one is the San Ynez Valley People Helping People, Valerie Kissel. You go ahead with your pitch for People Helping People.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and distinguished council members. My name is Valerie Kissel, and I'm the new CEO at San Ynez Valley People Helping People. I was lucky enough to begin my position with People Helping People in August of 2020, when longtime CEO Dean Peleus retired after 27 years of service. Although I'm new to PHP, I'm not new to this type of work. For the last 15 years, I've worked in the nonprofit sector, specifically working with vulnerable populations, experiencing homelessness, youth at risk, and veterans. I'm also a resident, having relocated to the Valley about 11 years ago from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Almost 29 years, PHP has been the primary provider of social service programming here in our community. PHP has been the recipient of federal funding in the area of substance abuse prevention, housing supports, and food distribution, which benefits the residents of Buellton. Through a variety of Santa Barbara County contracts, PHP provides clinical services for mental wellness counseling that benefits our area youth, families, and most importantly, our isolated seniors. PHP operates 2 remote sites, one at the Hanada Elementary School and the other at Oak Valley campus, where our family advocates work very closely with school staff to provide family supports that include anything from technology support, translation services, document preparation, and a variety of other mainstream services such as applications to Medi-Cal, CalFresh, and Social Security. I mean, clearly we're experiencing the impact of the coronavirus in our community. Social isolation, the economic disruption, housing instability, and food insecurity has been created by the loss of jobs and the closures of schools, workplaces, and other public gathering restrictions have created a need for services at the levels we've never seen before. And we're facing a potential housing crisis. And our service area has really seen an increased number of individuals that are experiencing homelessness. And vehicular homelessness is on the rise, with many individuals moving from area to area to find safe parking at night while they're seeking out support for housing stability and looking for more traditional housing. In our last fiscal year, for the entire year, we invested $11,280 in housing assistance to Buellton residents. That was for the whole year. In the first half of this current fiscal year, that's only through December, we've provided over $18,000 in housing supports and rental assistance. This funding request will support the provision of direct emergency services such as housing supports, basic needs, and food. I mean, we're spending between $3,000 and $5,000 a week on our food distribution, and mental wellness services for Buellton residents. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the council and mayor for your previous financial support and for your careful consideration of this request. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kissel. Appreciate it. Our next speaker is Food Bank of Santa Barbara County, Lauren Coiro, please.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Hear you
Yes.
fine.
Okay, great. Thank you for the opportunity to hear more about the food bank. I'm going to share my screen with you all. It was funny that you were debating about the volume of our services, because it's almost been exactly double for a little over a year now. So this is just some overall numbers about what we've done in the last year. In a typical year, we distribute about 10 million pounds of food. For the 1 year block from March 9th, 2020 to 2021, we've almost reached 20 million pounds. Many of our 300 partners have been shut down, but we've been working with about 100, and we have our own initiative called Safe Food Access for Everyone. So 50 of those sites have been operating around the county. One of those is in Buellton. And a big part of our service has been for seniors, because many seniors have been sheltering in place. Senior food insecurity has been pretty high. So we have switched all of our senior Brown Bag for Seniors programs exclusively to delivery. 60,000 of those have gone out. And to meet this quickly expanded need for food assistance, we have doubled our warehouse space. We're currently leasing additional warehouses in Santa Maria as well as Santa Barbara. We've hired some new staff. We've had 20 National Guards people working with us to help deliver food for the past year. And we've improved our volunteer programs, and the community has really stepped up. So 27,000 volunteer hours in the last year. So hunger in Santa Barbara County has always been an issue. About 1 in 4 county residents access our services every year. But as you can imagine, the pandemic has skyrocketed the need. We've seen a lot of people from the hospitality and tourism industries, the wine industries, who have really struggled. Families with children have been hit hardest by the pandemic, jumping to about 30% who are now food insecure. And despite being, having a reputation for a high wealth community, Santa Barbara does have the second highest child poverty rate in the state. And out of 58 counties in California, we are the third highest in our overall poverty rate. And so a recent report by Feeding America showed that, and this is kind of intuitive, that people who were already struggling before the pandemic have been hit the hardest. And going forward, they project that 1 in 8 Americans will be food insecure in 2021, and 1 in 6 children. So in Buellton, these are the numbers of people that we have served in that 1 year block from March 2020 to March of this year. So 3,500 people, I believe that's over a 30% increase from last year. But we're also seeing people use our services more often. So we distributed the equivalent of about over 200,000 meals to Buellton in the last year. But well over half of it is fresh produce. So we are keeping to our promise of providing the community with healthy food. We are adapting our nutrition education programs to take-home models, as well as virtual models. So for example, our Kids Farmers Market program, it's a take-home model where they get a kit, they get a recipe in both English and Spanish that's culturally appropriate and the whole family can partake in. And our Brown Bag for Seniors programs, when we are distributing those brown bags of groceries to our seniors, they get a little pamphlet about some health information, maybe where to access things like vaccine services, and they get some recipes and nutrition education information as well. So the distribution center for our Safe Food Net program is at the Buellton Senior Center, and it has been open pretty much through the whole pandemic. It was one of the first ones we set up back in March.
Okay, we need you to wrap it up. Your 3 minutes
okay.
is...
Okay, so I'll end here then. Almost half of the people we serve are children. Many of them are seniors. Many are female heads of household, single moms. So we have just seen a tremendous increase in needs. So the amount of money that we requested is reflective of the increased need in the community and how we expect it to continue. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you very much. You do an amazing job with our senior center and around the community as a whole. So we do appreciate the food bank. Our next speaker is San Ynez Valley Fruit and Veggie Rescue, and Diana O'Connell. You've got your 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Diana O'Connell, and I'm the new Executive Director for Veggie Rescue. And there are several issues that Veggie Rescue's food rescue program is addressing. One is that in the United States, it's estimated that 35% of all food that is grown and produced goes to waste. The second is that nutritious fresh produce is an important part of any healthy diet, but often it's too expensive for some people to afford. This is especially true for seniors living on a fixed income and families living with food insecurity. The third issue is that the food programs being run by local senior centers, food pantries, and churches are going to continue to be an important service to the San Ynez Valley residents and families struggling to get out from under the financial burden created by the COVID pandemic. To address these issues, most of you probably already know this, but Veggie Rescue partners with local farmers, farmers markets, restaurant supply companies to pick up fresh produce and high quality food that is either imperfect for commercial use or going to go bad by the time it can get sold through normal channels. We make it convenient for these farms and businesses to contribute to the well-being of their community and provide all the donation tracking to ensure that they get the related tax deductions and tax credits to help reduce their business expenses. We then deliver the food directly to the organizations who are feeding the most vulnerable in our community at no cost to the recipient organizations. In the San Ynez Valley, the programs we deliver to are primarily the Buellton Senior Center, People Helping People, and the food distribution program held through the Bethania Lutheran Church. But we also deliver to the Solvang Senior Center, the River of Giving, Feed the Valley, and previously to the food distribution program coordinated out of the St. Mark's Meal Program. And the reason I'm mentioning all of these programs is that Buellton residents can go to any of them. From what I've seen, these organizations all work amazingly well together to make sure anyone in the Valley in need of support is able to get it. We have no earned revenue and look to the communities we serve to support our program. We are asking you specifically to help fund our direct costs to provide food for 2 of the Buellton Senior Center's programs. These are the programs are the Community Free Farmers Market and the Senior and Community Grocery programs. In 2020, these Buellton Senior Center programs received donated food from Veggie Rescue that represented $100,000 in food budget. In the whole year overall for Veggie Rescue, we grew in pounds of food rescued by 275%. That was, and for us, that 275 was done with about a 90% increase in direct operating costs. But the funds we're requesting today will go directly to fund the drivers, fuel, and vehicle maintenance to help us to continue delivering specifically to these programs at the Buellton Senior Center. And I would just like to thank you for considering your ongoing support of these programs to provide nutritious, fresh fruits and vegetables to the most vulnerable people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, next, Nature Track. Sue Isagiri, go ahead. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello, and thank you, Madam Mayor and honorable council members. My name's Jennifer Morell. I'm the program director for Nature Track, and it's I want to thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present our request to you this evening. Nature Track is a local nonprofit who has offered field trips, outdoor field trips to K through 8 students for the last 10 years. And in that time, 1,500 students in Buellton have had that opportunity. We're projecting this fall as in-person learning comes back, that we'll do 300 plus students with a cost of about $30 per student with increased transportation costs. So that would be $9,000. We're just asking for a fraction of that to support this program. One that I'm here with a whole cadre of worthwhile nonprofits that function in the Buellton community. We work closely with the Botanic Garden and with Veggie Rescue. And oftentimes, I know I was a park ranger with the National Park Service for 15 years. And with interpretive programming, we always were in competition for federal dollars with maintenance and law enforcement because they have such tangible benefits. But the intangible benefits that being outdoors provides, if any year has shown that to the world of being outside and the mental health, the physical ability, the peer socialization that programs such as Nature Track that fill that specific niche, it brings up those intangible values and puts them, I think, on par with a lot of those basic needs. And so I hope that you will consider moving Nature Track up on your priority list. And I'd like to also give ear to one of our new docents and a retired teacher to give you a little bit of a personal perspective on how Nature Track benefits not only the students and teachers, but also the volunteers in the community. So Teresa Riley.
Hi, so I've retired from teaching after 30 years in early childhood and elementary education with a focus on outdoor hands-on curriculum. And so from the start of Nature Track, I've been bringing my classes out on these field trips. And as a very busy, committed teacher, I so appreciate the fact that they will gear the field trips to the curriculum that meets state standards in science and a variety of other areas. I can also personally speak to the benefit for the kids to get out of the classroom and out in nature. It's an especially good equalizer for second language learners, for kids with disabilities, for those that have attention issues or different learning styles. When you get those kids that struggle in the classroom out in nature, and you have a very small ratio of adults to kids, they are learning, they're engaged, and they come back to the classroom ready to learn. And they also, you develop leadership capacities in these kids that might be squashed in the classroom. And then finally, the organization and the training, that the way that they support the docents, there are a lot of talented people that are out there sharing their passions that also are igniting those passions in their children. So I'm a huge fan of Nature Track, and I hope that they get some more funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for speaking. Our next group is Zaca Center Preschool. Shelley Grand, you've got 3 minutes, or is James Powell going to speak?
It's actually going to be me, Leanna Moore.
Leanna. Hello. Okay, 3 minutes.
Hello. I grew up here in the Valley, and my husband and I have owned a home in Buellton for 20 years. And while I'm your neighbor and constituent, I'm here mostly speaking as a parent. I'm the mother of Alec, age 22, and of McLean, who's currently a senior at the high school. Alec has significant disabilities. He had 2 open heart surgeries his first year of life and spent that first year in intensive care. As a result, he had significant delays in all areas of development: speech, fine and gross motor, social development, learning disabilities, but that is only a small part of who he is. He loves sports, he's super funny, and he's now taking remote classes at Utah Valley University with support. McLean has had a more typical course and is currently a member of the National Honor Society, a ballerina, and will be attending UC Santa Cruz in the fall. Both of their lives have been forever changed by their years at Zaca Center Preschool many years ago. How is it possible that the same place is the perfect preschool for 2 children with such different needs? The answer speaks to the core of Zaca Preschool's mission itself. It's a place where children with special needs are fully integrated into the preschool, and their supports and therapies are seamlessly woven into the school day. It's where children learn as toddlers that all of their peers have different strengths and abilities, and where they're taught a foundation of inclusion that carries with them throughout the rest of their schooling. For example, when Alec was at Zaca and had fine motor therapy with an occupational therapist, she would take Alec and a couple other students to work on an art project. The other children would get extra practice with essential fine motor skills, while also modeling for Alec the correct way to hold the scissors and hold and glue small pieces of paper. He was able to get his needed therapy in a way that maximized his success in a collaborative way with his peers. In our little community, we have this treasure of a preschool that has received national awards, is a certified outdoor classroom school, has a school garden, and makes daily homemade meals for the children, in addition to the unparalleled academic preparation. Just a few years ago, the Santa Barbara County Education Office, who owns Zaca Preschool, decided to no longer run the school. You no doubt recall the community outcry. As a result, Zaca Preschool successfully transitioned to an independent nonprofit, and I currently serve on the board of directors. As a board member, I was surprised to find that the county only reimburses Zaca approximately 25% of the cost for the special education students that are enrolled. The remaining 75% of those costs are met through grants and funding from those who understand the importance of our mission, like the Buellton City Council. This pandemic has made it clear that preschool and childcare are essential services in our community and are critical in supporting our economy and our local families. Buellton families know the exceptional foundation that Zaca provides and the importance of integrating those with all abilities into our schools and social places. As a result, Zaca currently has a wait list that has been capped at 100 families, with our executive director receiving calls from new families every day looking for open spots. Yesterday alone, she received 8 calls. This fall, only approximately 2 of those 100 waitlisted families will be accepted into Zaca. With your support of Zaca, we can continue to provide this exemplary preschool experience and hopefully expand so that more of Buellton's children have the unparalleled foundation of the Zaca Center Preschool. Thank you for your generous consideration of our grant application and for your continued support.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have the California Organization for Public Safety Incorporated, or COPS, and our own Eddie Shui is the president of this group. Mr. Shui?
Madam Mayor, I don't believe Mr. Shui is with us this evening.
Ah, okay. All righty. Are there any other public speakers out there?
No. No other public speakers, no.
No other public speakers. Okay, closing it down for council consideration, and I guess we are doing the board. We've got $36,000. We have 6 incredible nonprofits. Buellton is very special. And we've got a lot of people who give so much to the community, and now it's our turn to give back a little bit more. So we've got $36,000 to spend. That's 36 for this year, 36 for next year, with a potential 2% increase in that for next year. And our city manager's been working on an electronic board for us.
Get it broken in here. Here we
Bring
go.
batteries.
So, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, if you can go through whatever process, Madam Mayor, you'd like to work through, as each council member gives me an allocation, I will plug it into the board, which will total and average that, and you can decide where you want to go from there.
Okay.
Should we be seeing the board on your screen or just the city?
I'm sorry, you are not seeing the board, are you?
A beautiful seal of the
your
city.
desktop.
Well, that's not good. Hold on, let me see if I can work this out again then, just a second. Is it up there now?
No. Yes.
Okay, let me move this aside then, just a second. Okay.
So our city manager has done an amazing job. He's got our columns. On the left side, you can see the requesting 6 agencies, what they've received in the past, what they're asking for this go around, and you will give dollar amounts to each group. and your dollar amounts will add up to 36,000. If it doesn't, in the past, we've had a couple council members, probably myself included, who couldn't quite get the number right. And we'll get either our city manager or our finance director to help correct any mistakes. But Councilmember Lewis, you get the pleasure of starting this one.
Awesome. All right. Can I jump around and watch it add up so I can not get my math wrong?
Sure.
Okay. For people helping people, we'll do the 9,000.
9,000 even? Okay.
Yeah. For the fruit and veggie rescue, 5,000.
Okay.
For Zaca preschool, 8,000. Okay. And then for nature track, 2,000. And then I'll do the 10,000 for the food bank and the remainder to the California Organization for Public Safety. So 2,000.
2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Thank you.
All righty. Councilmember King. Are you muted?
You are muted.
Hate it when that happens.
Me too.
Okay, let's go 8,000 for people helping people.
Okay.
8,500 for where is it? What about for food bank?
8,500.
Correct. I came your way a little bit, Alicia.
Thank you.
5,500 for Veggie Rescue. I think they do an outstanding job serving this community. 2,000 for Nature Track, what they requested. Preschool Zaca, 7,500 and 5,000 for cops. And that's is that 36?
That's 36,500.
Okay. People helping people, 7,500.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Councilman Andresic, you're up next. I thought we were going to have an average. Oh, you've got the average total over there. Okay.
Average is in the column.
Oh, yeah, I got to get rid of me. Councilmember Andresic, it's your turn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we're at 36,000 is what we've agreed to distribute. Is that right?
Correct. Correct.
And we have six requests. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that would be $6,000 if everybody got the same amount. Right?
Correct.
Correct.
I don't want to shortchange anybody. I think it would probably benefit all of the groups, even their willingness to get out and help have fundraisers to because they're very close. I mean, we're not like 15, 20,000 away from what they were asking for, which I really appreciate them doing. It's a real reality call. And I'm just inclined to leave it 6,000 for each group for our benefit. But I don't know if you have any heartburn with that. Can we give more than they've asked?
You can split up your 36,000 any way you want, Councilmember Andresic.
Well, I think it would make it 6,000 for each one. Then, if I were going to follow that, and
there you go.
And I would ask them if they didn't need it, they might want to put it away and next year not have to ask for as much. It would be some seed money for their next event.
So nature track.
But I
asked
leave it at 6.
5 and you went to 6. That's nice.
Well, Nature Track has asked every year, and I have also did not fully fund. I don't think I ever fully funded them any one year. It was so tight. I think we're so close to try to keep this on a level playing field. I'm inclined to support or to move that we contribute, that my contribute recommendation is 6,000 for each benefactor.
You got it.
Because they've certainly earned it.
Vice Mayor Sanchez.
I haven't got this quite figured out yet.
You and me both.
9 o'clock.
I'm
we have
trying
to close
to,
the door.
Yeah. So I'd like to go 5,000 for the cops. And I'd like to go 8,000 for the Zaca Creek. That's 13. I'd like to go 1,500 for Nature Track. Excuse me while I do the math. Is that 18.5 now?
You're at 14.5 right now.
14.5. I'll go 9,000 for people helping people.
Hold on just a second here. People helping people, 9,000. Okay.
And the food, what does that leave me? I'm sorry.
12,500.
12,500, yeah.
Okay, and then who else do I have to go to? Do I have left to go in?
Food bank and Veggie Rescue.
Okay. And I'll split that half and half with those two, if that sounds good.
So 6,6250. I think that's right. Hold on. Mistake. Yeah, that'll do it.
There you go.
Okay. So the average total on the side is what if I didn't do anything, that's what they would have versus their request, correct?
Yes, if you,
Well, it's factoring in a 0 for the average, that if you did nothing, we'd take that 0 out. So the average would actually go up.
yes, that's correct. It's dividing by 5. Oh, okay. 1 second. Let me reduce this. Is that more visible? Let me see if I can get it a little bit.
Oh, I could see it. I could see it. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what I need to put in so that the average total is closer to what I was thinking.
Okay.
So Mayor Sierra, this is Greg Murphy.
Yes, sir.
If you left 0 on Nature Track, for example, then they would stay at 2,300, which is slightly more than what they've asked for. And then allocate whatever you might have originally wanted to allocate for them, you could allocate to someone else, which would have theirs go up even more.
Got it. Okay, so we can start with the Nature Track because I'm going to leave that at 0. They've respectfully asked for 2,000 and 2,300 is a good number. Zaca Creek Preschool, I wanted to give them my 8,000, but then I'm wondering, does that just keep it at the 5,900? No, that would go up then.
Test that here. That
Let's
would take
check.
it to 75.
Okay. The cops, I wanted that to be, he didn't ask for any more, so I thought if we left it at 4,284 or 4,300. So if I come up, good God, if I put in $1,000 there, what does that look like?
3,800.
Still not enough. Okay. 2,000 for cops.
Okay, that takes you to 4,000.
Okay. Let's see. The people helping people, I'd like to put 10,000 there.
Okay.
Okay. Food bank, I would like to put 7,500 there. Okay. Fruit and veggie rescue, I'd like to put 5,000 there. Okay. So let's see, we're close there. We're close. Zaca Preschool, I'd like to put in another 2,000.
So total of 10,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And then I still have 1,500. I'd like to put another, yeah.
Okay.
I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
All right. If I
So
would
your
like-
magic board works really well, but it still can be a little confusing.
It can be, and I apologize for that. Just for the record, does the city council want to indicate an allocation for the subsequent fiscal year? Do we want to simply add 2% to that, which I believe is the recommendation? Is that correct, Chanel?
Yeah, that's correct. And it would be 36,720.
And we could make a 2% increase across the board on that.
Okay, so I move that we accept the board and that for our second year that we add the 2% into it.
Now, clarifying that, Madam Mayor, and that's, everybody will just get a 2%. Chanel?
Correct. Yeah, everybody will get the 2%.
I will second that.
Right. You know, it's really hard because every one of these nonprofits do an amazing job for our community, whether they feed us or they keep us sane or they keep us safe and take care of our children. So it is very difficult, and I truly appreciate all the work everybody does. With that, Linda, do we need a roll call?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate you putting in your applications for our nonprofit, and I'm glad we only do this every couple years. Please let us know if you do any fundraising that we can promote or we can participate in. And thank you very much.
I'll send it.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 6, discussion regarding sidewalks/landscaping on Highway 246 at Thumbelina Drive. This would be Director Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. Well, before you tonight is a discussion item regarding the sidewalk and potential landscaping and temporary improvements along Highway 246 at Thumbelina Drive. As you're aware, Caltrans has removed the eucalyptus trees for safety reasons along that frontage. So now we are left with some tree stumps in that area and kind of an open, unimproved portion of Highway 246. There's been interest for a long time to incorporate pedestrian path or a sidewalk or something through that area. And with the trees removed, that certainly does open the path to move forward for a project as such. That is the larger project that would need to go through Caltrans and approval and design and permitting and all that. In the interim, we're looking to see if council's interested in moving forward with something quick and easy, well, relatively quick and easy, to put maybe a DG path, any fencing or something in that area. Multiple things we want to consider is the width of the paths. In the staff report, we have in there listed maybe a 10-foot wide DG path that kind of follows the width of the existing sidewalk on the west side of the area. And something that we would have to, again, get the tree stumps ground and all the mulch and debris in that area would still need to be removed. There's quite a deep section of that existing in that area. We have very, very rough estimated costs there for a 6-foot wood fence. If that's something council is interested as well, helps keep the pedestrians straight on their path and kind of segregates the private property from the public right-of-way. So there's a few different options that council can look at and discuss. DG path would comply with ADA requirements, so that is an acceptable path of travel if council wants to move forward. We are still working with Caltrans on tree stumps and right-of-way lines, and all that access information and potential permitting that we would have to do even for the interim portion. But this will give you a starting point for discussion, and staff is looking forward for recommendation and direction.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I should also note, I'm sorry, that attachment 1 gives you a lot of photos of the location. And we did a very preliminary site map that shows approximate property lines and where we would locate the fence and the path width. And then there's some photographs of the property from an east and west direction and then facing on-way as well.
All righty. I see Councilman Andrusik has a question for you.
Yes. Rose, would a cyclone fence give us better life and less what do we call it, vandalism or spray painting, carving on the fence? We're getting a lot of that in the community. Just wondering if that we've had good fortune with cyclone fencing when we had open spaces, large areas, and I think it's worth doing, but I just think we should do it as as durable a product as we can find. And I think the cyclone, unless it gives heartburn to people that don't like to see cyclone fences.
Yeah, it's a possibility. That's entirely up to council and what you decide to use. We just listed wood fencing because that would be a clear area.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's some echo going though.
Feedback.
Hello.
Go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead, Councilman.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. When I was reading the packet, we're discussing this as an interim option before we are able to continue the, stucco and stone wall, correct? So we're not choosing something to substitute for that. We're choosing something in the interim, or are we choosing the final choice now? What is it exactly that you're asking us?
So right now we're asking for something in the interim. Long term, staff would recommend continuing that existing wall in the same facade and decorative type along that entire stretch so that there's consistency. So but that's going to be a much larger cost than a wood fence.
And is the reason for looking at an interim because the cost isn't included in the budget, because it's something we need to, like, are there additional hoops we need to go through? I'm just concerned about the $75,000 plus price tag to pay for something that is an interim option when we know going into it, at least myself, I want to see us continue for continuity purposes and, you know, making it all look pretty and match. I'm not a fan of spending $75,000+ for an interim option when we know, you know, in a year or two, we want to switch to the nicer permanent solution. So that, I guess, is my question, is why are we not just looking at going with the main wall?
Well, I think the ultimate cost for the full, when I'm thinking full improvements for this area, full and final improvements for the future, that would be the wall, a full width concrete sidewalk, curb and gutter, and actual lane paving and striping that would be consistent, so we don't have this section of just unimproved area, which would be a much larger cost and a much more extensive submittal and permit process through Caltrans versus, you know, and also it would take a longer time frame to process that. So we're not looking at 1 or 2 years. It's probably, you know, maybe more like 5 or 6. And then again, that's going to depend on other council priorities as we go through our capital improvement projects. So in the interim, to facilitate some kind of better pedestrian access through here, that's why we're recommending something a lot less expensive so that we can get that up in a shorter time frame.
I see. So we kind of don't have an option for safety and accessibility issues within that 5 or 6 year span. Something has to go there. And this is the best option, cheapest option, while we wait for permitting and everything else that we need.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman King, did you have a question?
I have one question, then I'm going to defer to my recommendation when you get back to comments. Did you guys look at cedar fencing? Because I know redwood is anywhere from $1.50 to $3 more per board. And most of the houses around this area here in Buellton have cedar fences anyways. It wouldn't be like something was out of place. It's just, I just wonder if you guys looked into the linear foot for cedar rather than redwood.
I don't recall specifically what type of wood was used as far as the estimate.
Right.
We will be happy to look into that, though, and if there is a more cost-effective alternative, we will move in that direction.
Thank you so much.
Okay, are there any other questions before I go to public? Vice Mayor Sanchez, any questions?
Yeah, the tree that's on the west side of that, why wasn't that included on the tree cutting originally? Because there's still a tree in the way, right?
There is still a tree in the way.
On the very east end of that section. That was not included because Caltrans removed the eucalyptus trees because that specific species and type of tree is what was in danger and with their health and potential stability and creating the safety issue. So since that tree at the very east end is different and didn't have those issues, they left those.
I will add, though, that we are not finished attempting to convince Caltrans that there may be a benefit to removing that tree.
Could we have that tree removed without their permission, or is that something?
No, that tree belongs to Caltrans. We're still working with Caltrans to determine to see if they'll remove that tree. We'll keep you posted as to the outcome of that and what our options are going forward.
Okay, I was just concerned with growing trees on top of the lines, and then you left one growing on top of the lines. So
that's what our concern is. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Andrusik, did you have any questions for Rose?
Just about the cyclone fence benefit. We want a fence. I mean, the other is architectural. I know people are hung up on. But every place I look at redwood and cedar tree fences, in 3 years they're weathered. The knotholes start falling out. It's a boondoggle for maintenance.
Okay. If there are no questions from council, I'm going to open it up to public. Linda, is there anybody who wishes to speak on this subject?
No comments.
All righty, then I am closing it to the public, bringing it back to council. I guess I have a an allergy to cyclone, Ed.
Okay.
I
fresh air.
Fresh air. I like the privacy idea. And I agree with Alicia that I personally would like to just spend the money and complete it properly. I understand the DG. We want to make sure before we lay down any concrete sidewalks that all the plumbing, all the lines underneath are clear and that we're not going to have to dig up a sidewalk. So the DG makes perfect sense to me. I think if we're talking about a 3 to 5 year permitting and council working to try to fit this into the budget to do the plastering, that the wooden fence for, if we could get something that's going to hold up for 3 to 5 years. So I like Dave's idea about cedar going as inexpensively as we can. It looked like the wood price for the redwood was the 23,000 or something. 23,184. The DG was 37,300, and grinding of the tree stumps, which I understand Councilmember King is working on himself. You're going to go out and do that, huh, Dave? Kidding.
Yeah, I got a couple of chainsaws I can, get out there and work on that.
I'll help you. I'm sure Caltrans won't mind.
You could throw the chunks into the back of my truck. Yeah, perfect.
So I see this as a way to make that area look nicer and more accessible to pedestrians. But I'm with Alicia that the sooner we can get it just completed the right way, the better for me. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
I'll go next if it's okay.
Okay, sure.
So I think this is the redwood sounds good to me. I'm not really concerned about the cost of the fence. I'd rather have us spend money and have a beautiful fence there, because we're gonna have to look at it for, like you said, maybe 5 years. It would be nice to just, instead of having something that's gonna fade away or look bad, it's worth the bump up to me to have a nice looking fence. It's gonna be the entrance of town. It's gonna be the same as looking whatever. It's ours to own and have it look good, and it would block the view. The DG sounds good, just because that'll be cheaper and it'll move if something happens, or instead of putting concrete. And if the stumps are out of the way, that'd be good too. So I would, when it comes time for a motion, I would just like to go with the best looking fence and on with the tree stump grind. And because I just think it's real important for it to look nice when you come into town. It's not going to be like a utility fence, so I wouldn't do the cyclone or anything. And I'm not worried about the price of the fence. I think it'd be worth it. So that's my comment.
Okay, Councilman King, you said you had comments?
Well, I have more recommendation than anything else, I guess, and it probably will be some comments. One, I think we could take a look at that cedar, see what the difference is if it's nominal. There are really good seals that you can put on cedar fences that make them almost look like redwood. So if it is a substantial difference, say $10,000 difference, I would say it's not going to cost us $10,000 to put a stain on that cedar to make it look like a redwood. I've got neighbors here in my neighborhood that have done that. It looks awesome, and it is very attractive. What's underneath that stain is really, who would know that it's not redwood? Because at some point in time, we're taking that thing down. The other one is that area has been just rough patch dirt for eons. So for us to take and spend $37,000 for DG, and then none of us knew a month ago that Caltrans was going to come in there with chainsaws and cut those down. So we are really, in my opinion, we are at the infantile stage of dealing with Caltrans. Caltrans may step up to the plate and go, yeah, we planned on doing that anyways. We don't have that information at this particular time. And I'm sure that Scott is very competent in dealing with Caltrans. So going forward, we may find out, yeah, we just spent $37,000, and then Caltrans says, we were going to put a sidewalk and fix that road there anyways after the stumps are gone. And then we have to again pay someone certainly an exorbitant amount of money to take that DG out and haul it away. So I would recommend on this particular issue that we just, for now, scratch the DC or the DG and save $37,000. You know, it's to me, it's not going to be one way or the other if we put that in there.
Are we required for ADA, Dave, or are we good to not do it?
Well, we didn't have to be required ADA because there was no improvement in there in the first place because the trees were there. So for ADA to come in and tell us now, oh, you have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to put a sidewalk in there now that the trees are gone, I don't think that's within their purview. I can ask our attorney, but I don't think that ADA could come down now and tell us, oh, you took those tree stumps out, so now you have to put in DG. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the ADA would be on an improvement. We would have to comply with ADA. If we put a sidewalk in there at our expense, we would have to comply with ADA. But in my, common sense thinking, they couldn't come in and tell us you have to put something in there now.
Well, Councilman, you're trying to apply common sense to the law. Discussed earlier today is a bad idea.
Is common sense really common?
Not in the law, sir.
Not anymore.
My biggest concern, honestly, and this is something I would want to see if Rose has already looked at, is would putting up the fencing and doing any of the other improvements trigger a requirement to make the ground ADA compliant? If you take it out of what's been, as you've said, sir, essentially a natural state, then right. Councilmember Lewis said we begin to trigger ADA as we make really any improvements that take it out of that state. I haven't looked at it yet, but I would ask Rose.
Yeah, I think our city attorney is correct on that. It's currently unimproved. I mean, clearly. So there is no obligation for an ADA compliance because it's unimproved. So it's not an accessibility issue because it's in its natural state. Once we start doing something else to it, it's a different story. And the nature of Caltrans' decision to remove the trees was a safety issue, and it wasn't for the purposes of building or creating a path or a winding down there. So that wouldn't trigger that removal for ADA as well. So that is something to keep in mind.
And see, this is what I was thinking. See, we're not really making an improvement there other than putting up a fence, and we're not improving that area other than it's just going to be, for lack of a better term, a dirt field once we pull those stumps out of there. So how would it be that ADA would come into play when it's a dirt field? That would be like telling us if we mowed the grass behind Albertsons, now we have to put a sidewalk in there for ADA. Once again, you're right, Greg, common sense does not apply here.
If it were the school district, putting up the fence would most likely trigger ADA and path of travel, and it would require those things, which is why I'm concerned that it may be a similar, given that it's a municipality.
I'll tell you what, if you give the go-ahead to staff tonight to begin the process, certainly we can look to see if ADA is required or not. If not, then we can come back to you with the question on whether we want to go DG or whether we just want to roll a dirt path. If ADA clearly is required, then obviously we'll be coming back to you with DG to comply. Does that make sense to everyone?
Madam
Should
Mayor,
we make them, sorry.
perhaps I can fine tune that suggestion a little bit. We have the initial preparations of an application to Caltrans for both the fencing and the DG path. Perhaps a more expedient approach might be to direct staff to proceed with that application for the fencing and the DG path, but only provide the budget to staff to build the fence. That way we can start the process with Caltrans to see what they're going to, what they're planning to do, what they're going to allow us to do. And in the event that it looks like they're not planning to put in curb, gutter, sidewalk, other improvements anytime soon, and the DG path is required, then we can come back to the city council and request the additional funding at that point. But at least this way, we're moving forward on improvements from the planning stage, and we're not delaying ourselves by not putting it in the plan up front.
I have a comment on that. The whole thing there, I think, is supposed to beautify the entrance into town, and to say it's just a junk field, it's not true anymore. It's going to be a fence there. And I thought the whole reason that we were taking them out and putting access, we're going to have access from the whole Dave's neighborhood, Thumbelina, and everything else. So that would become a larger travel area. The people, if we leave it unimproved and leave the DG out, people are still going to have to hop across the street, hop back, or ride their bike over dirt and logs or trash and all that. And I think it's important to take that into that sidewalk to Thumbelina. But that's the big deal. And because everybody walking into town is has to walk out in the street or whatever. I think that's a big deal that we put the DG and get the sidewalk in and the nice fence. And so it's not really a trash area there.
John,
it may be dirt and some weeds, but you know what I mean?
John, I agree with you that we want it to look nice. It's not the original entrance coming into town. That's where Ballard Canyon, the homes there, the Welcome to Buellton sign is. Thumbelina, that's a little bit farther down. I agree. We do want it to look nice, but I think we might be jumping the gun a little bit because we have a city manager who knows how to talk to Caltrans, as well as a public works director who's really good. I have some contacts now with Caltrans, and I believe Councilman King does too. I'd like to see how much we can get Caltrans to do for us. I think the first step would be the fence. I just think we might be jumping the gun a little bit. And while I totally agree that all this needs to be done, I'd like to see if we can get Caltrans to do some of that for us so that we can put that money that we put into this into actually building that beautiful wall that we would all like to see there. So perhaps we'll follow the city manager's idea that we put in these applications to Caltrans and then move forward with the fence and just see if Caltrans will step up and do what we'd like to see done. And if they don't, then we will move forward as a council and make sure it does get done.
And just for clarification, the intent with my suggestion is to ensure that if we reach a point where it's clear that Caltrans is not going to provide that, but is willing to allow us to, the only action that needs to be taken on the part of the city council is approving the budget, because we will have the design ready to go and approved by Caltrans already. So there wouldn't be a delay in doing it this way. There would simply be the knowledge that you haven't allocated funds at this point to proceed with that project until such time as we're sure you want to build it.
Do they call that good neighbor fencing?
Yeah. And one more thing that you guys didn't put in here on this budget is we're going to have at least 6 foot tall hedges on the far west side of that lot there for the patrol cars to hide behind.
There you go.
I know you're laughing.
With a utility hook.
Yeah, right.
What else?
Because they lost their hiding spot.
I will admit that without those eucalyptus trees, we are not going to be able to sit right in there like we used
Well,
to.
then maybe we should put some hedges there for the patrol cars to hide behind.
You're right.
We'll get you some palm trees.
Okay, any other comments? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to fund it completely, but just start with the fence and grinding the stumps. So that so we don't have to wait. I don't think Caltrans, if the Caltrans doesn't step up, I don't want to wait.
Can we try to get Caltrans to grind the stumps? Can just do it. Step 1 would be the fence.
Well,
Step 2 would be the stumps.
Okay. And I would like to make a subsequent motion that we only fund 38,000 of the 75,000.
How much?
38.
That would be the 6-foot fence and the grinding of the stumps, which would be $38,000, and leave that DG out for now until we find out what Caltrans is going to do.
And we would also need the motion to include direction to Scott to prepare the applications and submit them.
And have Scott prepare applications to Caltrans for improvements in that area.
With permit.
Okay, so we had a motion from John, and I didn't hear a second, and then we had a motion from Dave, and there's no second.
I will second Dave's motion with the application to include the DG and the fence and all the stuff we need, but to only finance everything excluding the DG until we know what Caltrans is going to do, so that we know whether or not we have to do that.
I'll second
I'll second John's motion.
There you go. All right, let's do it. We can do Dave's first.
So we're going to clarify. First of all, John wanted to fund everything, but then have the city manager turn in the applications for the DG and the fence and move forward with the fence. Is that correct, Councilman Sanchez? Was that your motion?
Yes, I'd like to just go ahead. And so if Caltrans says we're not doing anything, we could just get on it and get that sidewalk in as soon as we could. Otherwise, we have to come back and talk about it. We won't spend it if they change it, or if they're going to do it for us. But I don't think Caltrans is going to do anything for us. I mean, I guess I'm just not. I don't have as much faith as you in Caltrans taking care of something right away. Although I appreciate them taking the trees. Thank you.
Trees are down. Okay, so then Councilman King, your motion was to just do the stumps and the fence and to come back to council for the DG and to have the city manager turn in the applications.
Correct.
So if you guys are pretty much along the same lines, John's saying, put the DG in there, you're saying keep it out, but John's saying if we don't need it, we're not going to use it.
So they're the same motion, basically. Dave is saying if we don't have to do it, don't spend it, which is the same thing John is saying. So I guess they're pretty much the same thing. And John is just saying have it pre-approved so we don't have to come back if Caltrans says.
Right. The difference between the two is that Councilman Sanchez, Vice Mayor Sanchez's motion would pre-fund the DG. Councilman King's motion would not fund the DG. We'd have to come back to you and get that allocation.
Can you earmark it?
We can identify, we will find a way to find that money if that's the direction we need to go. And I should note, I'm assuming we will likely know that what Caltrans' plans are there and what they're planning to do well before we get a permit approved from Caltrans. So once we figure out what they're going to do, if it looks like that they're not planning to fund the DG or they're not planning to build a sidewalk up front, we will return to the city council immediately for that. I don't anticipate a delay by not funding it. There may, however, be a signal sent to Caltrans that if you do fund it, they don't need to build a sidewalk there.
And that's the way I'm looking at it.
Okay, so we've had two motions. Councilman King's motion was the second one, so that's the one we vote on first.
Correct.
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
And Mayor Sarah.
Aye.
Wow, we all agreed on something.
Hey, it's the same thing.
Just on
I mean,
paper, Dave.
basically, it's
It is in a sense, Holly, but like Scott just mentioned, if Caltrans gets wind that we already paid for this thing, they might go, no, you put it in.
no, I agree. Yeah. Caltrans, well, I'm not even going to go there with my Caltrans joke. That's just
Have
not
faith.
a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Well, I got a million of them. Kidding me? 25 years in the high patrol, I got a million Caltrans jokes.
Okay. So you have the direction then? City Manager?
I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I think we can move forward from there. And just to make it very clear, we have had a very cooperative relationship with Caltrans lately, particularly with regard to this issue. They've been very communicative with us, and we anticipate that will continue moving forward.
Wonderful. Now, if we could just get them to fix Highway 246. Sorry.
Yeah.
Agenda item number 7, authorization to reclassify positions in the Public Works Department, adopt associated job descriptions, and new salary schedule. That's you, Ms. Reed.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Council requested that staff review the current salary schedule and bring back suggested adjustments and reclassifications for budget consideration. So staff is proposing those at this time. We're proposing to reclass 2 positions that are currently at the city. So one is the parks foreman. We want to take that to a facilities supervisor and utility field worker. The other one is a facilities maintenance worker, and take that to a facilities foreman utility field worker. And create a new classification for a chief plant operator for the wastewater treatment plant. So staff has also reviewed the current salary schedule, and there were 4 very low paying positions that should be addressed in order to recruit and retain capable staff. The first was to reclass the facilities maintenance mentioned above. We're also requesting that council approve salary increases for the maintenance and utility field worker 1 and the staff assistant planning technician, as well as the youth recreation coordinator. As mentioned in the staff report, which was quite lengthy and a lot packed into there, the 2 reclassifications will become hybrid positions. So these will be working in facilities and also crossing over into utilities to assist with water and wastewater as needed. This will also allow staff in these positions to gain certifications, which will help the city and provides monthly compensation to staff members. The current occupants of these 2 positions will automatically be placed in the reclassified positions and elevated to the next highest step in the salary schedule. Each staff member will have 1 year to obtain a certification in water or wastewater, which will ensure adequate cross-training for the Public Works Department. Reclass staff will be encouraged to seek additional certifications in water and wastewater, which continues to benefit the city and the employee through special compensation, which is also tied to their retirement calculation. So staff has drafted the new classifications for chief plant operator and wastewater. Currently, the city does not have a grade 3 operator on staff and contracts for this service. There is a staff member working towards his grade 3 certification and hopes to secure that by fall 2022. This position is elevated in compensation due to the complexity required to obtain a grade 3 certification and the responsibility that goes with that classification as well. So the fiscal impact for the reclass of the parks foreman to facility supervisor, utility field worker would be $6,600 annually. Reclassing the facilities maintenance to facilities foreman would be $1,272 annually. And it's yet to be determined what the CPO wastewater position would be, as the fiscal impact would go into the 2022-23 budget cycle, and that's yet to be determined. So the salary increases for the planning technician and the youth recreation coordinator, it would be $2,952 annually for each position. If we were to hire a field worker one position, that would be added into that calculation as well. So staff is recommending that the City Council consider reclassification of the parks foreman to facilities supervisor, utility field worker, the facilities maintenance to facilities foreman, utility field worker, adding a new classification for chief plant operator wastewater, adding the associated job descriptions and salary schedule for the new and reclassified positions, adopting the new salary schedule for the field worker 1, planning technician, and the youth recreation coordinator, and making this effective July 1, 2021. And the finance director will adjust the upcoming budget numbers accordingly. So that concludes my report, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions of Linda regarding this?
Go
ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Once we establish, I think we're at the table prior to Caltrans and maybe even the county or the state. If we set the parameters and they're legal, can we avoid being told you can't do that? Because it seemed to me we've run into that before, where we wanted to upgrade something and they said you can't do that without doing this. I'm hoping cities can prove that they're capable of managing the staff and function of the city without having someone come in and say, this is what other cities are doing. I mean, do you see this being, it sounds like it could be a very streamlined, sensible, quick adoption. Do you see any roadblocks for that? Or does Rose see any hiccups?
I don't believe we'll see any roadblocks in that regard. These are purely municipal positions.
Ministerial.
Well, no, they're municipal positions. They're city employee positions, and as such, while there will be some coordination and integration with Caltrans, Caltrans doesn't really have any authority about how we staff or at what level we staff our city services. So obviously, if there's work to be done within Caltrans right-of-way, Caltrans is going to have some authority and the ability to direct in those instances, but we tend to like to let Caltrans do the work in their right-of-way in any case.
Okay, good. It sounds encouraging. Thank you.
Any other questions? I thought Vice Mayor Sanchez was going to ask one, but I had a quick one, Linda, with the Public Works employees. If they don't get that certification within a year, what happens?
Well, we would have to look at that a little bit closer, but we're going to try to do some mentoring as far as their education and taking some tests. And I have every expectation that, some of these tests, as they get higher up the ladder, become very difficult. The ones at the beginning are pretty easy to pass, and I expect that anybody on staff that would take the test, some of the distribution tests, would be able to pass them.
Alrighty.
And if they didn't pass the first time, they could take it again.
Okay, Vice Mayor Sanchez, did you have any questions?
Yeah, but are we adding a person's staff? I mean, we're gonna end up with 5 operators, or is that what we're working on?
I think the goal would be to have, again, at least 2 in wastewater and 2 in water, and then 2 in facilities that would cross over to water and wastewater. So a total probably of 6. Rose, you can correct me.
Right. And John, so the idea for these reclassifications and having them certified isn't so that it's more to provide support in times when, additional license staffing is needed to be able to work on water and wastewater, but they are not going to be dedicated to water or wastewater.
So
Yeah,
the chief plan,
Well, except that position, sorry.
right, it's at that position, but the goal here was to make kind of a hybrid position, kind of a utility infielder, if you will, and so they could play any position and help out where needed and help out in emergency situation and cover when people go on vacation or if they're sick or we're in a pandemic.
but we only have one wastewater operator right now. Is that true?
That's correct.
That's correct.
That's correct, with contract staff, yes.
Vice Mayor Sanchez, I believe the question you were referring to here is whether there was a new position a new staff member being added. What's being done with the CPO position is essentially to convert the current lead wastewater operator into that chief plant operator position. I don't imagine we would see a lead position and a chief plant operator. So we wouldn't be adding another staff member. We're simply reclassifying that position or creating a new position.
So the operator wouldn't be able to be a chief plant operator until he passed his grade 3, which could be a couple of years. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah,
So
we expect fall 22, so probably a year from this fall.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way it should be done. If you're going to hire somebody, we should be aggressively looking for a chief plant operator like right now. And we should be advertising to hire one July 1st if that's a position that's open. Not to say someone's not going to get it, but we need another operator anyway. We need somebody who knows what they're doing, and we need to get off the spending the money for the contract employees. So I'd like to aggressively go to fill that position. I don't like the idea of hanging out and waiting to see if somebody's going to get that job in a couple of years. You need somebody right now, and then we wouldn't have. It would eliminate the contract employee, the employees as soon as possible. What are we paying the chief plant operator right now?
Vice Mayor Sanchez, if I can interrupt just for a moment, we can certainly have this discussion, but it's probably not appropriate to have that discussion this evening. The agendized item is simply the creation of the positions. To discuss whether or not to fill and how to fill those positions is something that should take place under an agendized item, probably at a subsequent meeting, just so we don't run afoul of the Brown Act, unless Mr. Murphy is comfortable with the direction that's going.
No, I was thinking about at what point we were going to have to kind of make that same comment that you just made, sir, that I understand the councilman's position. I think probably the first thing that should happen is the vice mayor's position. Vice Mayor and you can have a conversation about it so that you can fully understand it, and then bring it back for full council discussion. As you said, right now, what we're looking at is, do we want to create a position, in fact, a number of positions, and do we want to fund them at certain levels? And we need to keep our focus there tonight, and then deal, with, as you said, sir, how to fill those positions at a later time.
So would that be on the agenda next week or next time, or when would that be?
If the city council wishes it to be on the agenda very quickly, we can bring it back at, whenever the city council would like to have that discussion.
I just if you're going to create a position and then you're not going to advertise to fill the position, that's what I disagree with. I fully back having a position, but I'd like to have that position filled like yesterday. Okay. And that's not what I'm seeing.
Thank you.
We'll bring it back.
And as I said, I think to some extent it's an administrative matter. To some extent, it's a council priority. So what I'd like us to do is decide what's on the agenda tonight, and then if yourself, sir, and the city manager can have the first discussion about it, and then bring it back to the whole council for council input. Once we kind of figure out the parameters of that, I'm fully behind that.
All right, thank you.
And we're legal.
Okay, any other questions before I go to public? Seeing none. Linda, do we have any public comment on this item?
No comments.
All righty, bringing it back to council for potential action.
I would move to approve as presented.
Second.
All righty. Thank you very much. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Hi. Linda, thank you for the work that went into this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate it, and the staff appreciates it as well. All of them.
Could we ask if that, do you see any bumps in the road? Is this going to flow through what, 2, 4, 6 week current? I mean, before we can advertise it, because I think John's concern was a good question. We don't want to be a full-time yearly looking for employees.
Now that the city council has taken the action to create the positions, we can sit down and we can move with as much speed as possible to get these positions advertised.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's really just the one, the CPO. The other two are being reclassified, and the people, the employees that are in those positions are being allowed to just step up into the next role. So the only one that's really new is the CPO position, and then the salary increase was for the the 3 other positions. But the goal was to try to advertise at least for field worker 1 and a journey in next week and put that back out. I've already gotten some applications, and so I think we can move forward with that. And conduct some interviews hopefully in May with a start date in July. With a new salary schedule.
That's aggressive. Thank you.
Is that for the wastewater operator you're trying to hire, or is that what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, that was the goal. Yeah, was to if you guys approve tonight, I'll put them back out next week, advertise again, put them on the website. Probably have interviews in May would be my guess, and then we try to correspond with hiring July 1 with a new salary schedule. The hard part would be, John, is to find a CPO that's going to come to Buellton, because we have a shallow pool, as you know, in this area, and although we've upped the salary, the pool is still shallow, more shallow than other places, as well as the salary schedule. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge, to find that person with certification that can come in and run that plant. So.
Could I ask, we've used headhunters before and we've seemed to have had good fortune with that. Would it speed it up to not muddy the water? I think every 3 weeks is another almost month loss. So if headhunter might have a portfolio ready to go if you get the right one.
I'm sure they're going to do their darndest. We want to be fully staffed.
We will look into that as an option as we move forward, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Moving on. City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. First item on the City Manager's Report this evening has to do with Median 2. I'm sure it's a question that's been on everyone's mind lately, including mine. At this point, the last item to complete Median 2 is the flagpole. The foundation, the footing for the flagpole has been installed. The flagpole itself, however, is experiencing some delays in fabrication due to the material that they're using to construct it. That being said, now that the foundation is complete, the Public Works Director is comfortable opening Median 2 for public use should the City Council desire to do that. We can also have a ribbon cutting or some sort of a ceremony if you'd like, or we can wait for that until the flagpole is ready to be installed. We still don't have an estimate on that from the fabricator, but as soon as it's here, we can just simply drop it on the foundation and we're ready to go. So if you've got any thoughts as to whether you'd like to open that to the public, I'd be happy to hear those individually, and we'll kind of make a decision internally at the staff level as to when to make that happen. The second item this evening has to do with the Williamson property and the discussion that the City Council began at its council retreat date on March 6th. At that point, the mayor indicated a desire to have some sort of a decision made on use of at least a portion of that Williamson property, ideally by the end of the month of May. In order to make that happen, I would suggest that the city council probably wants to see at least one more public forum on that issue take place outside of a regular city council meeting, and then follow that up with at least one city council meeting of discussion at which time you can make a decision. That would be my suggestion. Given the timing of a number of things, I would suggest that if the council is looking at a public forum similar to what we did on March 6th, that perhaps another Saturday meeting might be worthwhile, perhaps May 8th or May 15th. However, if you'd like to look at another date, we can certainly do that. I put that out there simply as an informational item. If you'd like to each contact me individually with your thoughts, I'll try and come to some sort of a consensus, and I'll schedule the meeting accordingly. So with that, I'll conclude my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Did you say mid May or end of May?
Well,
what was your target?
The target that the mayor indicated at the March 6th meeting was to have a decision made by the end of May.
Okay, end of May.
And you know what we come to in May is the difficulty we have is that we start seeing our meetings, and we'll start seeing that probably the next meeting will start to be more impacted and longer meetings than we've seen recently, because we're starting to get into issues related to the budget, and other agencies will want to have our ear as they move into their budget cycles. So I'm simply suggesting an outside, a non-regular meeting. It might be a good idea to have this other public forum so that we can move forward at a regular meeting sometime in May, if that's the council's desire to make some decisions. But let me know what your preferences are, and we can move in that direction.
Good question. Did you say we could open the parking lot without the flagpole?
We can, now that the footing has been placed. All we're waiting for is the pole to put on it. The risk of damage to the construction site is pretty much gone now with the footing in place, and it's cured. So if the city council desires, we can open that parking lot. Yes.
And would that be? Is there a time that, like the warranty or whatever? You know, it's like if something fails or something, you know, that it isn't completely. I mean, to fully okay it, or it's just done. They'll be off site and they're out of there.
Well, they're not out of there until the flagpole is placed, but I think that we can. Well, I'll let Rose address how that would work.
Right now, the city's conditionally accepted. Of course, we still need to bring the notice of completion to council for that particular project. But because the delay is on the city's part with these change orders, not the contractor, we've been working with him as far as the warranties and the maintenance period for the site. So everything has been operating properly, including all the drainage facilities. Fortunately, we've had at least a couple of storms since the project has been completed, so everything has been tested to that certain point.
All right, thank you.
And as John pointed out, when they were pouring it, we could either put a flagpole up there or launch rockets.
The launch tube has been filled in now, so that opportunity is passed. I'm sorry.
Thank
4
heavens.
feet across and 10 feet deep.
Thank heavens. All righty. So thank you very much for the city manager's report. Mr. Murphy, you're on.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The city will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4 to discuss one item of potential initiation of litigation. Madam Mayor, why don't you let us know what kind of time break we'd like to take, and then the council all has the call-in information provided by Linda earlier today.
Correct. I've got 8:15 right now. Does 8:20 work for you guys? Or do you need a longer break? Is 5 minutes enough to run around the house a couple times?
Can we do 8:25? I have to run and grab my daughter down the street.
Please, let's make it 8:25.
I appreciate it.
Run
Sorry.
like the wind.
You You owe us 5 minutes.
Okay, got you next time.
8:25, call in, and Lieutenant Green, thank you for joining us tonight. It was a little longer than normal and we appreciate it.
Well, that's okay. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me. And I think we should probably look into some funds for Councilmember King to get a bigger couch, because it appears that he gets pushed off his couch by his rather large dogs that sit with him.
Come on, but they're happy to see me.
Thank you again. Have a good night.
I don't see Gretchen. She's not happy to see you.
Oh, she's down in Ventura. Down in
got it.
Ventura with my daughter.
Okay, 8:25. We'll talk to you all then. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you.
Night.
Good night. Thanks,
you.
Linda.